Okay, there's a few things that I want to say, which is that yesterday when I came back, I went to the spa and I told someone at the spa that I had just gone to the Tommy Robinson March, and to my shock, he kind of said, "So you want me out of the country, do you?" And I guess I didn't. I have known him. I've seen him quite a lot of times in the jacuzzi, but I don't really know that much about him. I guess we do talk a lot, but he basically kind of said to me that he was an illegal immigrant here, and I was kind of like, I don't want people like I was kind of thinking to myself, like, why is it that I don't see a problem with him, but there might be others that I do see a problem with, and I just want to kind of talk about that and just explain. This guy spoke very good English, and he actually spoke with an English accent. Like he doesn't. There's a lot of people that come here that don't really that don't learn the language. They don't look like they have a good job. They don't look like that they can't hold much of a conversation, or if they do, their topics are off topic, or that you just don't relate to them, or don't and so I think that kind of just made me want to talk about like the difference. I know you have to call it like illegal immigrants because all the legal people here are going to be like, well, that's unfair. But to be honest, I think that I would rather, there are some people who can come into England and be legally here and yet not assimilate, and there are some people who can come here unillegally or non-illegally, but through work, through getting a job, through proper paying. I don't know I don't know how the tax system works if you're not legally here, because technically you might get exposed. So I don't actually know what made me remind me that I don't know what the legal system is, and if you are not legally here, but are working, and maybe you only have a temporary job, and you're here for 3 years and you're going to go back or whatever, and then you just stayed or something like that. Like I don't know what he meant by him not being legally here, but what occurred to me was that this guy, even though he had sort of brownish skin, I guess, he looked like a typical white bald head guy, only he had brownish skin, and he acted like an English person. He spoke like an English person, and if he would have told me that he was born here and has lived his whole life here, and and is here legally, I would have believed it. And I feel like when I say illegal immigrants or refugees or something, I'm referring to people that don't fit in, that don't seem to be able to hold much of a conversation, that don't offer much, that don't speak our language, and it's horrible because I told him that it's not people like you that I'd want to leave. It was people that when you walk around the streets and you just hear everyone speaking in different languages, foreign languages, and you can't really relate to them, and you can't really, and I think he completely understood. He's totally for getting rid of illegal migrants, but yeah, what he means when he says that is he doesn't want to walk down the street and feel like some foreigner is just going to grab the phone off him on a bike or something. Like, I don't even know who does that. Who does these, getting on a bike and just going around stealing people's phones? There's hundreds of cases of people having their phones stolen. But if you did the research as to who it is, like if you catch these people, what magnificency, can't say that word, what race are they? That word. Why can't I say that word? Ethnicity. Ethnicity. Why can't I say that word? What that is, what that word is that I can't say. What is that? And where are they from? What religion are? I mean, it'd be interesting if there was studies done to find out like what type of people are stealing phones, and why is the number have gone up. Maybe it's a ripple effect. Maybe there's a lot of people that have come here, taken up jobs, but the locals can't get jobs, and if the locals can't get jobs, maybe they're forced to steal and stuff. And so I had a brief conversation with him about why I don't want illegal migrants here. But technically, if there are people that have married someone and just had kids and then rejected the partner, tried to push the partner away, made it clear that they didn't want anything to do with Western civilization or Western people, and they only want to bring their sort of otherworld values and otherworld culture here, that's a really bad thing, and that's, so I was kind of like trying to explain myself, and we had a good conversation. He understood what I meant when I said that he would probably be he's definitely in favor of this. He doesn't want to feel unsafe. He doesn't want to feel like the country's being devalued. He wanted to come here. I don't know when. I don't really know his story or life, or why he's here, but he doesn't make the country a worse place. He looks like someone who's got a job. He looks like someone who speaks English very well and has probably been here. So that there is a different type of a migrant who's come here and actually fitted well and adds to the community. There are some people who add to the community, and some people that just take from the community and just degrade it and devalue it. And understanding what type of people make the community better and what type of people make it worse. I think this is a very important subject, and there should be loads of debates about what is good for the country and what is bad for the country. I was saying to him that it's the language. You speak like an English person. You've got an English accent. If you were sitting in a bar surrounded by a bunch of English people, you would look the same as them. And therefore, looking British doesn't necessarily mean looking British, but it means acting British, thinking British, sounding British. And what is that? I guess there could be lots of different definitions of it, because some that you've got a higher class and a lower class and a working class and a sort of a poorer class, I guess. But all of that comes together and forms a type of British person. And these British people can be from all over Europe, all over America, all over the world. But yeah, when I was thinking about what is it that I don't like? Okay, covering of the hair is one of the things, and that I went to Badminton today, and there was two Chinese people there. I've seen these guys a lot of times, and I like them. And it's weird because I was saying how I don't like hearing foreign languages, but throughout this whole thing they were speaking in a foreign language, but it didn't actually bother me. And therefore I was thinking maybe the thing I don't like about lots and lots of immigrants coming here is that they speak a different language, but these girls were speaking a different language and it didn't bother me. But then again, I was thinking why. I was analysing in my head why it is that these girls are speaking a different language. I'm playing sport. Okay, I'm tired. I don't really want to be having a conversation. It would have been nice to know what they were talking about, but it didn't actually. I didn't even see it as rude. And the reason why I didn't see it as rude is because it was reminding me of when I was at boarding school. There was 3 girls that were one from Hong Kong and 2 from China in my school, and they reminded me a lot of them. So it almost felt like going back to school, and they didn't speak they did speak English, but they didn't speak it as well as others, and they were often together speaking their own language. But I think because one was from Hong Kong and 2 were from China, they usually spoke English, but because Hong Kong and China have different languages. But yeah, I was thinking why doesn't it bother me that these 2 girls are speaking their own language? And the reason why actually is I was thinking about Chinese food and Chinese culture, and the Hello Kitty doll, and how Chinese people can look really, really pretty. I love the sort of the Chinese doll look. If you see a child dressed up like a doll, I think it's actually very cute. And I think seeing a culture that also has pretty people within it, and then you think of the food and dim sum. I'm a big fan of dim sum, and China has quite a lot to offer England because of Chinatown's a nice place to go, and duck and rice is an amazing dish, and and therefore them speaking China didn't really bother me, because I was thinking about a lot of things from China, and what's that drink that has the bubble drink, which is kind of a Chinese drink, and tea is also from China and stuff. So I think it didn't bother me because it was I was getting visions of nice things, and when it comes to but when it comes to people speaking foreign languages and they look Middle Eastern, when I think of Islam and I do think of war. I think of because that's all we ever associate the Middle East with. We associate the Middle East with visions of war and Muslims killing Christians, or whatever's going on in Gaza, and it's linking memories to Islam we do see war and visions and all the stuff that we see on the news and stuff, and therefore if there was some Islamic people wearing Islamic garments, I don't think Islamic garments are very attractive. I think Teletubbies are incredibly ugly. My sister was a big fan on Teletubbies, and she's got a big string where it says happy birthday all over it. She put it up in March. I think she put it up for Leo, and then it ended up just being staying up there because there was Leah's birthday, then Alicia's, and then Sophie's was a couple of months later, and she just left it up there. But it's just she liked the Teletubbies, but I actually find the Teletubbies really ugly. I was about 12 when they became famous, and my sister was about 8 or 6 or something. So she was 6 to 8, I think she was, and I was 4 years older than her. So I had outgrown. I was not the right age for Teletubbies, but my sister was. But she really liked the Teletubbies, and I didn't. I always thought they were kind of ugly because they just big wide face with just one coloured material, and I don't find that attractive, and therefore if I see sort of Islamic people talking in Islamic country in Islamic language and I don't know what they're saying, I don't feel good about it because it makes me think like what does the Middle East have to offer our country? A lot of your food is way too spicy for me. My uncle's come back quite a few times, and we keep going to this restaurant that it used to be good. The food used to be good, and then over the last few years, it's just gotten worse and worse. And we've had it so many. My uncle's come quite a few times last month. We went to that place so many times, and each time I went for the curry, but it just got spicier and spicier. And that last one that I took from there was way too spicy. I couldn't eat it at all. But yeah, I don't really know what Islamic food even is really like. I don't know. I guess chicken. I like chicken, but I don't know. There's some cultures where you feel like I love curries and I love the Indian culture. They have some good traits in it. The curry dish being one of them, and China. I feel like there's a lot of to offer. So if you start hearing languages that you think are from these places, you're reminded of the Caribbean. I'm reminded of drinks, cocktails on the beach and stuff like that, and chilled out music and smoke, I guess. But there's a lot of different cultures that have a lot of good things that they can offer. But I just feel like with Islam, I don't link it. I didn't know any Islamic people when I was a kid, and I didn't know. I went to 7 different schools. There was no one covering their hair from my memory at Sylvia Young Theatre School. It was a theatre school, a stage school. You wouldn't get Islamic people there. And my first 2 primary schools were in a Jewish area. There was no Muslims at either of those schools, and therefore when I'm trying to link to my memories to Islamic people, I don't link it to anything good. I link it to Charlotte, who kind of became more and more distant from me the more Islamic she became, and so I was just thought I'd talk about that because it's a question that everyone should ask. If you want to be intelligent and you want to think what is wrong with the crime rate going up and stuff, but I don't really know the statistics on who is committing the crimes, and are they committing crimes because there's not enough jobs, and maybe the reason why they're getting not enough jobs is because other people are coming and offering the same service for a lot less money, and they're struggling to keep up with their bills. And if these people that are coming in are getting extra fundings because they're new here or something, if you're a builder and you can get 10,000 for making a bathroom, but someone else offers a much better deal, you're going to find you lose out on work, and you're going to become more and more impoverished over it, and yeah, you're going to have to start offering better deals, which I guess is good for the people who are offering better deals. But if the people who are offering better deals are actually going to reduce their standard of work and make the quality of their work far less good, a lot of people like me aren't rich, hence we're more tempted to go for the cheaper deal. But if the cheaper deal ends up getting a result that's actually worse, or you spend the whole time worried that they're just going to run off and take your money and stuff like that. I did have a construction by probably Afghanistan people, I don't know, but I wanted to see how I would feel about it and stuff, and it was okay, but I constantly had the feeling that they were just going to take £1,000. The next time I give them a big bundle of money, they're just going to run off and I'm not going to see them again. And they almost did do that a couple of times, hence why they had to keep going up in price. And I ended up spending about £2,000 less than what the neighbour would have done. So, really, I didn't actually spend a huge amount less, only a tiny bit, but they kind of hooked me on because of the potential of being able to do it for half the price of what the locals were charging. But yeah, if people like me do go for the cheaper option, we might find that it doesn't actually end up being the cheaper option, and it might not be such a pleasant build, or it might not be a good outcome. That the outcome it was good in my situation, but there's lots of things to think about as to why too much migration is a bad idea, and there's a lot of thinking when it comes to like if someone is legal here, how have they become legal? Because if they've become legal by finding a woman, having a child with her, and then getting rid of her as soon as possible because they didn't actually like that person, and then they've just tried to bring in as many Islamic family members through this family that you've created, this is technically all done legally, but have they helped the community? Have they made the community better? Have they are they doing a positive thing for England, or are they just making England look more and more like the Middle East? Whether someone's legal or illegal, I don't necessarily trust the government enough to be able to make an accurate decision about whether or not someone is good for the country or whether they're not good for the country. And I don't know who's making this decision. Homeland Security, I think is the people that are actually granting these visas. But I've heard that people in these Homeland Securities are getting blackmailed by a lot of them. But yeah, I want to know like why the country is falling apart, and therefore I have to think about this question. But this question is a very deep question because I feel like it's getting less and less for loads of reasons. Islamic beliefs coming into the country is definitely one of them, but these Islamic beliefs are affecting the locals, it's affecting the whole community. And crime is going up because of people's lack of respect for each other. And if this lack of respect is coming from Islam and their belief that Muhammad was a decent or how people should be, a perfect example for how a person should be. If people are bringing this and convincing other white people that this is the truth, then the white or black or whatever color people are going to start feeling more Islamic themselves. And I wanted to say all that, and